Continuing my local voice control and home assistant series, I'm going to talk about custom sentences today in this video. We're going to be doing two different methods for creating custom sentences and responses. One is going to be using Node-RED. And for those of you who don't like or don't use Node-RED, we're also going to use the YAML configuration. Both of those are fairly easy, and I'll show you the differences between the two here as we get started. And with that, let's jump into it. As I mentioned, there's a couple of different ways that you can do this. The first one being Node-RED. So let's just go right into Node-RED right now. And I'll show you, and before I get into that, there's some prerequisites we need to have to make sure that you can actually do this. First, you need the Node-RED Home Assistant WebSocket. Let me turn on my mouse highlighter for you so that we can get some mouse highlighting. You need the Home Assistant WebSocket. This is installed in Node-RED basically by going over here, managing your palette, and then searching for, if you don't have it installed, you can search for Node-RED WebSocket. If it's already installed, typically you already have it listed here. And I need to spell it right. So Node-RED contrib WebSocket. I'll get it right here pretty soon. Home Assistant. So this needs to be installed. You can see that I have it installed here and it's already in use. So we're going to assume that you have that. You also need to make sure that you are running version 2.2 of the Node-RED companion integration. Now there's also some other nested requirements here. You need to make sure that that version of Home Assistant WebSocket is version 0.57. If you want to double check that, I think you can do it under Manage Palette as well. I'm at 0.59, which is really hard to see. 0.59 there, so I'm good with that one. And then you need to make sure that you're running version, what is it? Consulting my notes here, version 2.2 of the of this, which is the Node-RED companion integration. This is currently latest is version 3.1, so I'm good. That's what I have installed. If you look at the sentence node information under the GitHub page, they talk about that the sentence node was added in 0.56. The minimum requirements for running the Node-RED companion integration is actually 0.57. You also need at least Home Assistant 2023.7.0. A lot of requirements there, but you get the gist. Make sure that you're running the latest software on all of this. You'll be fine. All right, and anything else? You do need a voice assistant set up in Home Assistant. Make sure that you're running the latest version of, or you have the web assistant set up, Assist, which I've got some videos on that. I will link those in the description down below for you to look at that. All right, so this is a simple version, assuming you have everything set up. If you're running Node-RED and you're using Node-RED for other things in Home Assistant, like I am, then you will have most of this stuff already set up. So we'll start with adding a sentence node. Just drag it over here. This is the simplest method for doing all of this. I'm going to give it a name, engage the guest lamp. All right, and then my sentences, you can add one or more sentences here. Engage the guest lamp. Go there, and then the response, you can give it a custom response. What did I say on my return log here? Welcome to the light. So we'll put in welcome to the light as a response. And that's all that you need to do here. As soon as you click on this and you deploy it, you should actually see a registration. And that's simple as it is. I'm going to create a second one to disengage the guest lamp. Same thing. Actually, I'm going to copy this other one to make it simple. So we'll delete that one. We will just Control-C, Control-V, and we'll just put that down here. And we will disengage the guest lamp. And again, disengage the guest lamp. And then it has become darker for my custom sentence. And then I'm done here. And then I have these two items ready to go. We'll deploy it again, make sure it's registered. It is registered. And now all I want to do is I'm going to call a service. I'm going to connect those. My service is going to be turn on the guest lamp. And my domain, of course, will be switch, because that's what the guest lamp is, I think. No, it's a light. Light, okay. And then service is turn on, and entity is going to be guest lamp. So light guest lamp. Done with that one. And again, copy and paste it. We'll put it here, and we'll turn off the guest lamp in this case. Turn off instead of turn on. Same entity. Done. Connect them and deploy. All right, so now if you remember, if you've watched my videos, you might remember that I've done some work with this little Atom Echo thing here. Right now I have it a wake word called OK Jarvis. And you can maybe see it flashing.
Understand that.
Yeah, so she can understand it because I didn't say anything. But basically I have this, which then if we look at the screen and I talk and I say this particular sentence or the sentence that I put in here, I spelled that wrong. Let me make sure it's correct here. Disengage. Did I actually spell it? Yep, disengage. All right, so that's done. Deploy it. If I say to Jarvis to do this thing, okay, Jarvis, engage the guest lamp.
Welcome to the light.
I hope you heard that. So it basically followed this and then turn the light. So, okay, Jarvis, disengage the guest lamp.
It has become darker.
You can see that it turned it off and turned off the light as well and responded back to it with the words that I said I wanted to respond to, or the sentence I told it to respond with. You can also test this in Home Assistant by going to the three little dots up here, and you can type this stuff. So if I say engage guest lamp, if you don't have a speaker and you're doing it this way, you can do that. And it will respond back here as well with the same sentence that you told it to respond with. And if I disengage and I send that, and the light goes off, it has become darker. I can't move this out of the way, but trust me, the light's going on and off in the background. So you can test things without having to actually speak them. And I'm using the Home Assistant Cloud as my voice assist that I set up earlier. Again, watch the video on that if you have questions about how that works. So that's how you do that in Node-RED. There are options for doing things like adding another sentence, a variation of the sentence. Light up the guest lamp is another one, for example. We'll see if this works easily enough. And I will try doing that from here this time. So light up the guest lamp. Yeah, and it takes a second for it to register. Did I deploy it? Well, I got to deploy it first. Let's try that again. Light up the guest lamp. And it does the same thing. So this particular node can listen or listens for both engage and light up the guest lamp. And it will respond with whatever you do and the action that you have set up in there. All right, so let's disengage the guest lamp. Or let's do like, okay, Jarvis, disengage the guest lamp.
Sorry, I couldn't understand that.
Of course. Okay, Jarvis. Okay, Jarvis, disengage the guest lamp.
It has become darker.
Yeah, so it, hit or miss. On that, I have probably worse success with my smart speakers from the big players than I do with this. So I'm not surprised that even Home Assistant takes a couple tries every once in a while. Okay, so that's easy. The easy way to do it. That's Node-RED. If you're not a Node-RED fan, you're not a Node-RED fan. I use Node-RED for a lot of things still. I think it's a very valuable visualization of my automations, and I really enjoy using it. So those that are not a fan of Node-RED, then we have option number 2. All right, so like I said, this version or this method requires doing some YAML, creating some files, and creating some directories. So I'm going to go through that. I've done some of this already, so you'll see some of these directories already created, but I'll show you how I did that. So let's jump into this right here. We're going to talk about the first step, which is in your configuration directory. I'm using Visual Studio Code on my desktop using Samba plugin to allow me to connect to the directory. So what I want to do in my config directory, which is where I'm at now, I want to create a new folder, and it's going to be called slash custom sentences. So you would just click on the plus up here and create one called custom sentences. Now I've already done that. So I have a folder here called custom sentences. And I also, in that folder, would create a file called whatever you want.yaml. In this case, I call it guestlampon.yaml. And what this does is this allows Home Assistant to see that you have custom sentences set up. So I've already created the file. So you would just create a new file and just add it to that directory as well. And in that file is just some very simple stuff. There's two pieces to this. The number one piece is what I'm doing right now, which is the file. So we're going to set this as the language of default. Now, one thing to mention here in this custom sentences directory, make sure that you create custom sentences slash language that you're going to be working in. In my case, it's going to be slash or English, so slash en. So you can see I have a slash en here. Does it get bigger? Oh, sure does. And then under that, that's where I'm putting this particular guest lamp on.yaml file. This is a YAML file, so just make sure your whatever you call it here ends in .yaml. And then again, the language is going to be English. The intents, now the intents by definition is what the system thinks you intend to do with the words that you are saying. So you're creating an intent here. You're naming it. I called it engage the guest lamp. Which probably should have been called activated. But anyway, engage the guest lamp. The data is the sentences, and these are any of the sentences you want it to say. So activate, make the guest lamp happy, whatever, right? These are the sentences that this intent will be listening for and then acting on. And once you have these two created, make sure you save it. Control S for me here. Saves that file. And then after that, you're going to go to your configuration.yaml file. And this is the second piece. In your configuration.yaml file, you're going to create an intent script section. Now, if you've split out your files and you have all these different files, you can actually reference the intent script file as a separate file. I won't get into that in this video, but that's possible. But under the intent script section, you're going to put the intent that you just created. So again, I created one called engage the guest lamp. And then I put in a engage the guest lamp intent script. And this is what's going to be happening whenever this particular sentence or sentences are called. For this one, I want to turn on the guest lamp. So the action here is the same as you would set up for scripts. You have an action section, the service or whatever you're going to do, in this case, a service call, light, turn on. And then my target is going to be the guest lamp. And then I want it to speak back custom text. In this case, let's say the guest lamp has illuminated. Now, once you do all of this stuff and you set all of these things up, you're going to have to restart Home Assistant. So create your YAML file with the intents and create your configuration.yaml entry to do something with the intent once it's spoken, and then restart Home Assistant. Now I added a second sentence here, so I'm going to go ahead and restart Home Assistant to make it pick up the second sentence, and then I should be able to speak both this one and have the lamp turn on. So let's do a restart, and then we'll come right back. Now, as I'm waiting for it to restart, which you can see I'm on the restart screen, I just want to mention that if you've messed up any of your files, Home Assistant should give you an error saying that the file format is not correct. Go back and make sure that your YAML syntax is correct with the proper spacing and all the rest of that stuff that you normally would do. Otherwise, you're going to run into issues like that. So it will basically say I can't restart because you have file issues. Anyway, if it's all good, you should get a restart, and then it'll go through all of its process here to make sure it's all up and running. And then once that is done and everything is available, and I would wait till all of this is finished down here, then we can go ahead and test either using our little speaker, Atom Echo here, or we can use the text. And I'll do both to see how it works. All right, Home Assistant has started, so now we can go back to, let's just pick one of our dashboards here. So that one doesn't have the guest lamp. Let me bring up the guest lamp just for fun. So under developer tools states, I will look for the guest lamp to make it visual for you. I could just show you the guest lamp in a video, but then that, means another camera and everything else. So there we go. This is the guest lamp. It's currently off. So my sentences were activate the guest lamp or make the guest lamp happy. So let's try one of those. Okay, Jarvis. Okay, Jarvis. Okay, Jarvis. One thing I've noticed about this, I'm not sure what the story is, but when I do a restart of Home Assistant, I need to actually make this thing. I basically push the button on here. There's just the talk button. I don't ever have to use that with the wake word, but sometimes I have to push it to make it wake up after a restart. So let's try it. Okay, Jarvis, activate the guest lamp.
The guest lamp has illuminated.
All right, so it turned on the light and it said the words that we said in the intent file. No, in the configuration file. The guest lamp has illuminated. Now I can use this interchangeably with the node red, right? So I can say, okay, Jarvis, disengage the guest lamp.
It has become darker.
So that one is actually in node red. So it turned it off using this one, but it turned it on using the YAML code. So I'm going to say the other sentence and see what happens. Okay, Jarvis, make the guest lamp happy.
The guest lamp has illuminated.
Yep. And now the guest lamp is on. So you can see that here. And then I can tell it to turn off via the node red. So that was through the YAML, and this is going to be through node red. Okay, Jarvis, disengage the guest lamp.
It has become darker.
Yep. All right, so that's it. So now what we've done is we've created both a node red sentence node to do some actions, and we've also added some YAML through the intents to do some stuff as well. Now, that's not the end of it. There are some other things you can do that are beyond the scope of this video, but I'll talk about them briefly. There's a whole conversations page in Home Assistant's documentation that talks about this stuff. You can converse by pressing the microphone or use the wake word or whatever else here. There's also a conversation process service that allows you to do service calls using this whole method. But this gets into a little more complex scenario or more complex scenarios, but I'll talk about it briefly. We just did the custom sentences here, and we talked about adding actions through the intent script, calling services, firing events, or whatever else that might be you might want to do. But you can also extend these built-in intents. So, for example, there is one called has turn on or has turn off, and you would create the same custom YAML file and add your intents. But what you do is the intent is basically the has turn on or the has turn off, and then you add sentences. So you could say engage the kitchen lights or disengage the kitchen lights, kind of what I already showed you. And when you say engage the kitchen lights, it will turn on these things. So rather than creating a whole new action, you basically would just you would extend the already built-in intent. So that's kind of fun. But you can generalize things as well. So you can actually say engage the blank or name, and the name is a built-in in Home Assistant, contains the name of your entities. The area also contains the list of areas. So if you have a bunch of lights in your living room and you want to say engage all the lights in a certain area, you could add that, either engage the name of the entity or engage all lights in the specific area. So all lights in the living room, and you can turn them off. So this gives you the ability to do some work with extending the already built-in intents. You could also add this to the YAML file that you created. So if you wanted to say engage all the lights in the area with this particular call, your sentence could create to do that as well. So activate and you would just put in here name, and it would activate whatever entity you said in here to activate. So you could actually create this as a generic on-off or on intent and just put this in here. So really, it's up to you and your imagination on how you want to use this stuff. And if you want to read more about the conversation process service call, you can do that through here. There's also a reload. You can do that to clear the cache. I've never messed with either one of those. So they are available to you if you want to do that. All right, that's super simple, right? Playing with Home Assistant voice has been a lot of fun. It will continue to get better. The wake words are there. There's whole languages available now using wake words and all of this different processing. So just get in there and experiment. Make it work for the way you work. Use the language and the grammar and dialogue that you're used to. Create these custom sentences and then talk to your house like it's a member of the family. Any questions or comments down below in the section down there. Discord, if you have questions there, I can answer over on that particular platform. And that's about it for this video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, all that jazz, and we will see you on the next one.